Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Ingram. I work in the Medicaid office on the Doula Services Benefit, and I am joined by my colleague Samantha Hom. And this video is about the attestation form. So this is the provider enrollment page for the doula benefit. If you look at the top of the screen, you can see the web link. Couple things just to bring your attention to. We have created a doula enrollment instructions form here. In that upper right-hand corner, that's the mouse is hovering over right now, that's a place to find that. This is your tip sheet for paying attention to what needs to be completed and how it needs to be completed. So please use this as you complete your application. If we scroll down further, we'll show you where the attestation form is tucked away. So this requirements and additional forms is a drop-down. And again, you can see at the very top under instructional forms, this cheat sheet. So the doula enrollment instructions. Okay, very importantly, instructions for the attestation form or clarification on that form is on the doula enrollment instructions. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the attestation form. Next to the attestation form, it does say that this is required for both pathways. So regardless of whether you're applying for the work experience pathway or the training pathway, you need to complete this form. Okay, all of the forms have a title across the top to make it easy for you to know which form you're filling out. And then here we put that asterisk just to note this is required for everyone. The next pieces are important for every single enrollment form. You have to use the New York State Department of Health enrollment forms, and you have to add in a wet signature, meaning with blue or black ink, for both your initials and signatures. While these forms can be completed electronically, initials and signatures do not have an electronic option. So if you're seeing that that's not an option, it needs to be in ink. Okay. The other thing to note is that all of these forms need to be printed and mailed. And we will show you at the end of this video where to find the mailing instructions. Okay, so if we look further down on this page, these are the general requirements for becoming a doula services provider. Okay, and some of this is available in other videos. So every single person has to have an NPI or a National Provider Identification Number. Every single person needs to be age 18 or older. Every single person needs to have current adult and infant CPR certification. And then in the attestation form for all of these things, you are attesting that these things are true. So it's a signed document that confirms that you are being truthful and providing accurate information. So for CPR, the certification must be current. It must be for both adults and infants, and it must be in your name. Meaning if your name is Sally Walker, then Sally Walker has this certification. And then excuse me, every single applicant must also attest to having doula-specific liability insurance coverage. So what this means is the policy must be current, in your name, and be specific to doula services. Every single person needs to complete the fee-for-service doula directory form. This is to be added to the statewide directory for fee-for-service or straight Medicaid. This is the only part of the form that can be completed, or the application that can be completed electronically, and the link is there. The next thing is all Medicaid providers need to be familiar with HIPAA, or the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. It's a federal law to protect sensitive patient information from being shared without the patient's consent or knowledge. And every single Medicaid provider needs to comply with current HIPAA standards. So we've created a link for you to look for more information there. A lot of that information on the website is quite technical, but there is information, especially from Health and Human Services, that is more descriptive. Okay. Every single applicant must qualify for enrollment under one pathway. So you may be someone who very clearly only qualifies with the training pathway. So that's the pathway that you're going to apply for and the paperwork you're going to complete. Maybe it's the opposite. You very clearly qualify with the work experience pathway. You're going to complete the paperwork for that. If you're someone who qualifies under both pathways, then you want to pick one. Okay. And then the other thing is that you must complete this form and then all the other required forms. So we put the instructions for the doula attestation form on the next page. So we'll show you that now. Okay, and we broke this down into what everyone needs to complete, what people need to complete for the training pathway, and then what people need to complete for the work experience pathway. So every single applicant needs to complete part A of this form. Everyone who's applying through the training pathway needs to complete part B of the form. Now, let's say your initial doula training did not meet the required number of hours or all of the competencies. Then you'll need to complete the Part B addendum and as many addendums as you needed to complete trainings. Okay. The only piece of additional information that we want you to mail in if you're applying via the training pathway is your doula training certificate. And if that's not available, a signed letter from the doula organization that says that you completed the training is sufficient as a substitution. And again, you would include as many training certificates as you're listing in the Part B and Part B addendums. Okay. Now, if you're applying via the work experience pathway, you're going to complete Part A of the form and then Part C. And the only thing that's exceptional with the work experience pathway is you're also completing 3 different completed client and or professional recommendation forms, and we go over those forms in another video. So let's go to Part A of this form. Okay. So again, this is required for everyone. And if we hover over the blank spaces, we can see sometimes that they're highlighted in a light blue or gray to show that they can be completed electronically. If you open this up on your computer, you'll see that. So for example, in this first part of the attestation, where you're attesting that you have fulfilled the requirements, this part could be completed electronically. However, below this, you're providing initials, noting that you're 18 or older, you've got this CPR certification, and you've got doula-specific liability coverage. This needs to be in wet ink, so blue or black ink. So you can complete this form electronically, then print it off, and after you print it off, then you add your initials and your signature, okay? What we are seeing is that some applicants are putting X's in this box. It has to be initials and they have to be in ink in order for your application to be processed. Okay. Further down, you're attesting that you completed the doula directory form and you're attesting that the information is accurate and up to date. You're also acknowledging that the information will be posted publicly once you're enrolled as a provider, and that you will also update the directory form anytime your information changes, such as your location or the type of doula services that you provide. The next piece of the attestation is the acknowledgement that you understand what HIPAA regulations are, and you also understand that you have to comply with those regulations. And then you add in your first and last name, your NPI, and then again, your signature in wet ink. That's Part A, required for everyone. Part B, we put this asterisk or this note underneath to note this is only for the training pathway. So if you're selecting that pathway, you need to complete this form. So here, the first part of the attestation is noting that you meet the training pathway requirements, which are those minimum of 3 births and the minimum of 24 hours of training in the doula competencies. Okay. And then below this, we've put in those competencies as a reminder of what you are attesting to. So providing your written signature to say, yep, this is true. Then below you fill out this information for the doula training organization. And then at the very bottom, you're attesting that you are including a copy of that doula training certificate or a letter if the training certificate's not available, and that the information you're providing is correct and accurate. Okay. Let's go to Part B, Addendum. So again, this part is only required if you needed to complete additional training to meet the training pathway requirements, as is highlighted here. Okay, so you would complete this form for every single training that you needed to complete. So let's say you had a training that was 20 hours long and you took 2 doula trainings that were 2 hours each. You're going to do an addendum for each training that you completed. Okay, so again, here you're attesting that this additional training was taken to meet the minimum 24 hours of training in the required competencies. You put in the information on the organization, and then at the bottom, you're attesting that you did complete this training to meet the pathway requirement, and you're including the copy of the training certificate, or if not available, a letter that's signed and dated. Okay, and that's the Part B addendum. The Part C of this form is required for the work experience pathway only. So work experience pathway only are going to complete Part A and Part C. Okay, so everyone has 2 sections to complete on this form. So here, the doula is attesting that they've met the work experience pathway requirements, which is that minimum of 30 births or 1,000 hours of doula experience in either a volunteer or paid capacity within the last 10 years, and that the doula possesses these skills in the prenatal, labor, and postpartum care. Below, the doula is attesting that they are including the copies of the 3 different client and/or professional recommendations, and this acknowledgement that the forms have been completed using the New York State Department of Health forms, and that they were signed within 1 year of your application. So, and then again here, you're attesting that this information is accurate and correct. Okay. I'm going to hand it over to Samantha here to walk us through the remainder of information. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. So we'll go back to the eMedNI page now that we've looked at the attestation form. Again, this is the attestation form in here, and those are the enrollment instructions in case you are using that as a checklist to go through and make sure you've completed everything that's necessary. Heather mentioned that these forms need to be mailed, printed and mailed. So I'm going to show you where to find those mailing instructions. Right here, we do recommend that you keep a copy of documents that are submitted. And of course, as was mentioned, if you're sending in a copy of your training certificate, if you're doing the training pathway, do not send us your original certificate. Please send us a copy. Okay, and you can pick either the standard mailing or expedited priority mailing. There's a difference in price. So pick the method that works best for you. And then at the very bottom of the page, we see our doula services website that will have more information about the doula benefit and doula enrollment. And if you have any questions about this attestation form, any questions about enrollment in general, you should reach out to us at this email address. So thanks for joining this video, and we'll see you soon.